been sprinkled upon him, he is unclean.
Mm.
And it shall be a perpetual statute unto them, that he that sprinkleth the water of separation shall wash his clothes, and he that toucheth the water of separation shall be unclean until even. And whatsoever the unclean person toucheth shall be unclean, and the soul that toucheth it shall be unclean until even.
All right, now, so God had a specific, absolute plan that must be carried out extraordinarily accurately. And that was to bring us to the pure DNA of Jesus Christ. We know this, okay? The cleansing, all of this leading us to eventually the virgin giving birth to the man-child. Man in flesh, God divine, the Son of the living God. In a barn, in the back parts of Bethlehem came this baby to set humanity free from sin. All of it coming together in the prophetic plan of God. Now, let's take a look. Hang with me, okay? Gill Broussard is going to be here in a minute. Hold that thought a moment. We'll talk about the heifer in just a second. But let me tell you some other things that are going on around the world. As far as the earthquakes are concerned, yes, we have earthquakes. And let's just check them out the last 24 hours. 4.6 Japan, 3.2 Alaska, 4.4 Russia, 3.0 Oklahoma, 2.6 Puerto Rico, 3.9 Chile, 2.7 Puerto Rico, 4.7 Japan, 4.8 Ecuador, 4.7 Colombia, 3.5 British Virgin Islands, 2.6 Alaska, 2.7, 2.6 both in Hawaii, a 2.8 in Nevada, 2.8 Alaska, 2.7 Alaska, 5.1 earthquake in China, 4.9 New Zealand, 4.6 Peru, 2.9 Alaska, 4.4 Chile, 4.6 Peru, 3.3 Alaska, 2.6 Hawaii, 4.5 Tonga, 2.5 Cobb, California. That is the last 24 hours, the earthquake report. Nothing major, with lots of pressure being applied to the earth right here, right now. I can tell you that the earth is under severe stress because the solar winds that are coming off the sun are at 600. They're still, yesterday they were 736,000 kilometers per second. Today they're 682,000 kilometers per second, with a gaping hole on the sun, a coronal hole in the sun's atmosphere, which is allowing a solar stream that's putting tons of pressure. The only thing I can figure right now is that full pressure from that hasn't completely reached the earth yet, because if it had, I would think there would have been a major quake. Hopefully, when it does, if it hits in a spot where it's not as weak, or not one of the weak spots, or that none of the tectonic plates are about ready to go. Let's hope not. We know the earth is just like, it's so fragile right now. It's so fragile, but it is incredible what's going on right now around the world in many different avenues. Gill Broussard, a very articulate astronomer, and nobody has studied Planet X and tied it to the historical accounts of major events that happened on the earth in the Bible, and then checked it with ancient historical facts of events that happened to the earth, and they matched one event after another. No one has really studied it any more than Gill Broussard. Now, some people, just like a lot of folks, they attack people. Gill Broussard said by his best calculations, he really thought that Planet 7X, he calls it Planet 7X or Planet X, would have been in a full arrival and full impact on the earth last year, March 26, 2016. He really felt that. But he said from the very beginning, but I don't know. I'm giving it an 8-year window, somewhere between 2013 and 2021. And the reason he's doing that is because historically and biblically, every time there was a major event, he calculated how long each time these events happened, and he took that and applied that same analogy to this event since the last one we've had. And it would have been landing somewhere in this 8-year period. So because of that, he continues to keep a close eye on the heavens, he continues to keep looking up, and he continues to wait to see what is going to develop. Just like all the rest of us, okay? Now, quickly, grab some coffee. Everybody, grab coffee and calm down, all right? But let me tell you some other things that are going on. No, Gill Broussard is not John Bro. Poor John Bro. Everybody thinks that Mike Around the World is John Bro. Some people think that BP Earthwatch is John Bro. Some people think Gill Broussard is John Bro. Poor John Bro. Everybody thinks everybody's John Bro. I can tell you, I met John Bro. And I baptized John Bro. And Gill Broussard is not John Bro. Okay? All right, so... all right, let me read on, all right? Praise God. Hey, here's something that took place last night. Did you see the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, doing what he said he was going to do again? He said if he's elected, he's the only presidential candidate in the history of this republic. Listen to this. The only candidate ever to say to the American people, here's a list of 10 judges, and if you elect me President of the United States, one of these 10 I will select to be the Supreme Court Justice of the United States. Nobody's ever done that. They've all promised you. I promise you, they'd say, if you elect me, I will take a conservative judge and I'll put them over here. I'll find the best there is. Okay? And some cases, that's what they did. They did find conservative judges. Other times, we were told they were conservative, but they leaned left. Okay? Trump said, here's the 10 names. He did this in March last year and said, here they are. Study them. Check into them. Find out who they are. And because one of these 10 I'll pick. I promise you that. My promise. Last night, he fulfilled the promise again. He chose to be the next Supreme Court Justice once he's confirmed Judge Neil Gorsuch from Colorado, an evangelical Christian that has conservative views. President Trump officially nominated the Honorable Judge Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court. Judge Gorsuch has served our country as a defender of the Constitution, a believer in the rule of law, and a champion of life. He is a pro-lifer 1,000% and will absolutely be worthy of Justice Scalia's seat. That is a quote from Donald Trump, President of the United States. Now, Trump went on to say, the American people elected Donald Trump to fill this vacancy. Now it's time for the Democrats to stop playing politics and put the interests of the American people first. Okay, so Donald Trump has chosen, and already the crying, and I didn't see Chuck Schumer cry, but he might have. But you already can hear the whining and the whining and the weeping of the wimpy resistors of freedom. Anyway, I think he just chose. I have to say, I believe that this is a good man to choose. Somebody's got to sit on that court. Just here's the for those who say, well, I don't know, I got to sit back and wait and see. For the doubters who are looking for the perfect man, you'll never find him, he or she. You'll never find anyone perfect. But think Think of it this way. Look yourself in the mirror and say, what if Hillary had won? Who would she have chosen? Would she have understood the definition of marriage? Would he or she understood the definition of life? Would they have cared about the rights of the unborn? Would they have cared about your rights? Or been more interested in the rights of those that are not citizens of the United States instead of those who are? Ask yourself that. Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror in the morning. When you take a long look in the mirror and ask yourself, wow, maybe we should be happy on who we just got chosen. All right, well, anyway, I'll just leave that there. Because I think as preachers, we've preached into God says life. And then finally, when you have someone who's willing to judge based on life, we got folks saying, well, I just don't know. And it's very, very simple. If you don't know the difference between whether or not a child should live or die, you have no business in the seat of authority at all in this nation. If you don't understand the definition of marriage is between a man and a woman, let me just go on record right now. If you can't figure that out, then why would I ask you to figure out my life and figure out the economy and figure out everything else that we need in this country if you can't figure that out? Okay? So, can I get a big amen or a shout down or a oh me? So, it is truly thankful. Oh, by the way, let's go here quickly and talk about, I want to welcome all of you that are here. Almost 900 of you at new live stream. God bless all of you. And God bless the 1,400 or so that are over at new YouTube. And also, all of you that are listening on Blog Talk Radio. God bless all of you. You won't believe what I had to go through to get the Blog Talk Radio on. They were censoring me. They were messing with me. And I couldn't get the buttons to create the show till 5 seconds left. So God bless all 134 of you that are listening on the radio because you dialed the number 347-324-5208. Sounds like to me that and oh, by the way, YouTube censored me heavy today. They didn't say they were. They let my videos go up except the one about asteroid WF9. Twice they put it in suspension and held it. And I had to upload it a third time and change the title and take out the word urgent. When I took out the word urgent, they let it post. So what is it about this asteroid that YouTube is nervous about? What is this asteroid? Why did NASA put it on their chart and then later remove it? It's not on there it's no longer on the chart. Asteroid WF9 was recognized by NASA as an asteroid that was about a half a mile wide and was coming close to the Earth. Not going to hit us, but was a near-Earth object. Why was it there and then removed and nowhere to be found? And you got some people saying it's because this thing is going to come dangerously close to the Earth, and they just don't want to talk about it. And that's why some of these rumors are. I don't know. I don't know if there's an asteroid up there or not. I don't know. I'm going to ask Gill Broussard if he knows. I just know this: when NASA never gives a straight answer, never a straight answer. When they do something and then change it, it makes me freak out. And then when I try to upload a video just asking the question, I'm not saying it's doomsday. I'm just asking the question, is this thing real? Does this thing actually, is it really there? NASA said it was. They even named it. 2016 WF9. Then why did they take it off the charts? Why did they ignore it? Why did they name Planet X in 1984? And then never speak about again after 1992. Until 2015, when the astronomers in Chile saw it in the constellation of Orion, and then NASA had to say, okay, yes, there is a planet out there in the constellation of Orion. We're going to call it planet number 9. Okay, so I'm just asking questions. Why would you do that and then take it away? Explain to us why you took it away, NASA. And that's what's going on in social media right now. On Facebook, on YouTube, on everywhere. They're just asking a question. Why did you take, if you took it away, you identified an asteroid, you told us it was a half a mile wide. and that it was going to come close to the earth, wasn't going to hit us, and you named it 2016 WF9 back in October of last year. Why did you remove it from the charts? Where did it go all of a sudden? You know? Did it just go slip sliding away? Slip sliding away. They say the nearest asteroid that's coming slip sliding away. I don't know. Just tell me where it went. Okay? I'm just asking questions. Oh, and by the way, speaking about mysteries, where did things go? Where did the Chinese tycoon? He's worth $6 billion, and that's with a B. $6 billion. Business tycoon Yingzhou Zhuanhu. I'm not saying it twice because my Chinese is not very good. But where did this guy go? The Chinese government or somebody, they said some officials came in and asked him to come with them, and he's never been seen since. And his family and everybody's wondering, where did this guy go? Now, a couple years ago, there were 5 very wealthy businessmen who actually disappeared off the face of the earth. Oh, by the way, this happens in Hong Kong. And then months later, about a year later, these 5 men were found in containment in Beijing, China, in the mainland. So, again, you're dealing with a communist nation, and even though Hong Kong is supposed to have its own autonomy to be a democracy, kind of, they're still inside the nation of China. China is still a communist nation, and I guess at any time they may just come take you and take what you got, and that's just the way it is. And they may say they're going to do that because they are communists and they need to share with all the rest of the people. A lot like Bernie Sanders said he wanted to do if he was elected president. A super socialism, sort of like Venezuela. We come very close to having a weekend with Bernie, too. Anyway, wow. Don't know what happened to this guy. Pray for him. Don't know what happened to him. And I'm sure his family and everybody else wants to know what happened to him. The guy's worth $6 billion. He's gone. So there's some things there that's just really disturbing. Gill, Broussard to meet us soon. Brexit! Brexit! Read all about it! Britain's Brexit! Theresa May says they're going to leave the EU anyway. Brexit, Brexit, read all about it. Okay, so Bart Begley at the Crusader Journal has an article called Britain's Brexit Bill Set to Clear First Legislative Hurdle. A law allowing Prime Minister Theresa May to trigger Britain's exit from the European Union is expected to clear its first legislative hurdle, paving the way for the government to launch divorce talks by the end of March. See, here's what happened. Theresa May, the people voted to get out of the EU last summer. And here we are almost a year later, and the entanglements are everywhere, okay? Theresa May says, wow, we got to get out of these deals, all of this entanglements. Trump says, come to Washington. I'll tell you how to get out of it. So she shows up in Washington, spends a couple days, says Trump's a wonderful man. I don't agree with everything he says, but he is a great man, and we are standing with the United States. She goes back home, and the next thing you know, they're going to be out of this thing by March. Okay, so I don't know what he told her. I don't know how he knew how to unwind this thing, but it's going to unwind fast. And the bill could complete the legislative process by March 7th. May plans to begin exit negotiations with the EU by March 31st, starting 2 years of talks that will define Britain's economic political future. In other words, they'll start breaking contractual agreements one after another over a 2-year period as they are leaving the EU. In other words, it's finally going to start. And the United Kingdom, the people of the United Kingdom, God bless them, everyone. They stood up for what was right. They seen what was going on. Their nation was being slowly drained of its resources and picked apart and weakened under the European Union. And they saw this, they realized it, and they decided that they needed to vote to Brexit. All right? Gill Broussard is going to join us very soon. Extremely talented man who has a fresh new revelation for us, some new information, I should say, that he is going to share with us today. We're going to ask him about that missing asteroid. Where did it go, Gill? Where did it go? Did it even ever exist? And if it didn't, all NASA has to do is tell us, oops, we thought we saw something, but we didn't. But don't tell us you see an asteroid that's a half a mile wide, you give it a name, 2016 WF9, and then you pull it from the charts and never speak of it again, just like Planet X. So we're going to ask Gill Broussard, what is the deal with asteroid 2016 WF9, due to go by the Earth February 25th, maybe, I guess. And then what about Planet 7X? Give us an update on it. Any new information? What's the story? And also, what about Revelation chapter 12, the wonder seen in heaven by John the Revelator? Can Gill give us some insight to this extraordinary constellation event that is supposed to take place, I understand, in September of 2017? And what about Comet 45P Honda? Has he got any information about that while we got him there? And oh, by the way, he wants to say, he said this to me on the phone, he said, I want to give you my take on the 5 waves of energy. So we're going to be asking Gill Broussard about that. And Gill, tell us, what is this new info you want to tell us that's supposed to take place in March? Okay? So we're going to get all of that from Gill Broussard, Lord willing, in just a few minutes. Now, meanwhile, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, he is the Secretary General of the United Nations. He has made a decree. He says the ban based on religion or ethnicity violates basic values. According to Secretary General Antonio Guterres, he says such a ban risks fueling terrorist propaganda. In other words, Donald Trump, your travel ban of these 7 Muslim nations, that just might cause to make these radical Islamic mad. You'll get them upset and they'll do something. That's because you guys have been operating in what's called appeasement. You've been saying, please, please don't shoot us, don't hit us, don't bomb us. We'll let you in, just be nice. And they say, we'll be nice. We promise to be nice. Okay? We promise. And then they come and they form the sleeper cells. And they prepare to blow up your airport, like Belgium. Blow up your airport, like Turkey. Murder your people at the concerts, like France. Run people over with a truck in France. Are you serious? Shoot people and blow their brains out in a nightclub, like Orlando. Murder them at a Christmas party, San Bernardino. Okay? Please, please. So, what this guy is saying is Trump has just made all the radical Islamic terrorist murderers mad. So what? Thank you. If you're making a terrorist mad, you might be doing something right. And it isn't a religious ban, by the way. These 7 nations were chosen by Barack Obama as the 7 most dangerous nations by which terrorists could enter our country. That is the words of Barack Obama. That is the travel ban he signed in 2009. He started it with just Syria for 6 months, and he added the other 6 Muslim nations because of the instability that were going on there. Now, Trump might have been able to have been a little bit, he could have maybe rolled it out a little more professional and gave a 72-hour notice so that people wouldn't freak out. Okay, maybe. But he didn't want to. He wanted to send a message to the world that I'm slamming the gates. I'm shutting the doors. Get a clue. We're changing this thing. That's the Trump style. And I know Chuck Schumer broke down in tears. He got very emotional. But he's an emotional man. And so, after a while, they'll learn. You guys got coffee? Thank you. This is the time we're living in, folks. We are living in dangerous times. Oh, by the way, drastic times may require drastic measures, but let's talk about the red heifer. Brock, you have a picture of the red heifer, right? Are you serious? Now, I remember a couple years ago, there was a red heifer that was discovered on a dairy farm, I believe in Maryland, and I'm not positive of that, so don't hold me to it. But I do remember reporting on it. It was a perfect red heifer. This red heifer was found on a dairy farm in Baja, Mexico. And that is simply this. The red heifer, as you just heard the scripture, that's it. That's the red heifer right there. A rabbi went to this dairy farm in Mexico to buy some milk. And he saw this heifer. And he said, "What? Are you serious? That is a pure red heifer." And he studied it, and there was no blotch, no blemish, not one hair on that heifer's body was any other color but that red that you see. An incredible, folks, and just an absolute incredible. If you go to my website at paulbegleyprophecy.com, Brock has it on the screen. And so, this heifer could never have had a yoke put on it. So he asked the guy at the farm if this heifer ever had, and the guy said no. So in other words, and then the age of the heifer made the heifer qualified to be eligible for the dedication of the third temple, according to Scripture in the book of Numbers, chapter 19. Now, as I've said 1,000,000 times before, the red heifer is representing how that Jesus Christ, Yeshua, was the sacrifice, the lamb without spot or blemish. He was the Passover lamb, okay, that Moses said that they had to, all the children of Israel were to eat the Passover lamb and to put the blood of the lamb on the doorpost and side mantle. That was when they were leaving the land of Egypt. The red heifer is also representing the purity of Christ, the perfection of Christ, and everything that needed to be done. And so the bottom line is this: each year that is the potential of the beginning of the building of the third temple. You look around to see, and you find out there are things that are taking place either by God or by man getting prepared to do for the dedication of the third temple. Now, Apostle Paul told us it's not the blood of bulls or lambs or bullocks. It's not the blood of an animal that brings redemption from sin, but the precious blood of the Lamb of God, Jesus Christ. But before Christ came, folks, God had established a plan, a set of order to bring the children of Israel to the point to where Yeshua could be born into the world as the Lamb of God and could be sacrificed just outside the city gates of the eternal city of Jerusalem. And that process was extraordinary, set of rules, set of requirements, and if you touched a dead body, you had to get purified. It took 7 days to be completely announced that you were clean, but on the third day you would have to be purified so that on the seventh day you would be considered clean. Okay? And there was other things as well. So as they go forward here with what they're going to do, and your body is now the temple of the Holy Ghost. So this ordination, or I should say dedication of the temple, Solomon's temple, was a shadow, a foreshadow of things to come. When Solomon's temple was built, it was in representation to your body as the temple of God, and that one day when God dwelled inside Solomon's temple in the Holy of Holies, that this represented that one day God could dwell inside your temple, in your heart, which holds the Holy of Holies, the Holy Ghost. And so these were a shadow of things to come. Also, the third day, the reason you had to be purified on the third day so that you could be pure on the seventh is Christ rose from the dead on the third day so that mankind could be clean on the seventh day of God. Because Peter said, remember, be not ignorant of this one thing, brethren. And I'm sure he meant cistern as well. That one day with the Lord is 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is a day. So in other words, the seventh day, God's perfect day, God's completion, humanity can be set free and be presented spotless, blameless, pure before God, because we accepted His Son who touched death and overcome it on the third day when Christ rose from the dead. And these were perfect illustrations. Unbelievable. It had to be carried out this way. So the reason this is important now is because they will build the third temple, and it is going to happen. Matter of fact, they just announced yesterday, I did a prophecy alert yesterday on the half shekel. The Sanhedrin, for the first time in 2,000 years, has approved and is bringing back the temple tithe of the half shekel. It hasn't been done in 2,000 years. Why in the world is the Sanhedrin bringing it back? Because they're getting ready to dedicate the third temple. They're getting ready to build it. And when you go to Jerusalem, it is now on the lips of everyone. And it used to be when this third temple discussion was going on about 30 or 40 years ago, there were a lot of Jews saying, whoa, don't go there because, man, if we start talking third temple, the Muslims and the surrounding nations are just going to come against us heavily. So let's not talk about it. Matter of fact, the lawmakers in the Knesset said, shh, let's not talk about this. We'll upset the world. Well, here we are now in the 50th year of the liberation of Jerusalem and the 69th year of the establishment of Israel as a nation, that there is not only a talk of a third temple, but there's a temple institute in Jerusalem with the golden shewbread table, the golden altar, the 7 silver trumpets, the high priest, the breastplate, everything according to Scripture, including the golden menorah that's sitting on Mount Zion, staring at the Temple Mount. There are rabbis everywhere pushing for it, including Rabbi Yehuda Glick, who was almost murdered, shot 4 times by a Palestinian terrorist, only to survive miraculously. Now sits in the Knesset and just came to the inauguration of President Donald Trump, representing the nation of Israel and the name of Jerusalem, by the way. So I don't think you can make this stuff up. I mean, we are living in the last days. And oh, by the way, while all these things are taking place, all these pieces are on the table of the coming of the Lord, the prophecies of the coming of the Lord, earthquakes, volcanoes, sinkholes, meteors, asteroids, extreme weather conditions, apocalyptic, sometimes cataclysmic events taking place on the earth at an extraordinary rate as the birthing pains of the coming of Jesus Christ are magnificently being played out before our very eyes. And then throw in a few archaeological finds, like maybe they found the Urim and the Thummim, or Thummim, Urim and Thummim, or maybe, and they found a high priest button, and they have found the tablets with 7 seals. They have found archaeological finds of the city of David, and even the seed, olive seeds, inside a storage bin in the city of David. which is what Haggai asked the question, is there not seed in the barn? Haggai 2:19, which doesn't even make any sense when you read the chapter. It's like, why is that verse there? And so, anyway, there's so many things. I mean, are you serious? And even now, every time I go to Jerusalem, people ask me, would you keep an eye open for one of the two witnesses? And there's two witnesses in the Garden of Gethsemane right now. There's two olive trees. They're the only two trees in the nation of Israel that are over 2,000 years old. So they would have been in the Garden of Gethsemane as small twigs when Christ knelt on the rock of agony and prayed until his sweat became great drops of blood. Father, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but thine be done. Those two olive trees are there. They're big now. But they are two witnesses of that moment. And guess what? The Bible refers to the two witnesses that are coming in Revelation to the two olive trees. Oh, you can't make this stuff up. I mean, are you serious? And no! Stephen Ben-Danon and myself are not the two witnesses, by the way. Because when these guys show up, we're still preaching Yeshua, believe me, but when they show up, water's going to turn blood red. Plagues are going to hit the earth. Fire will come from their mouth of the Holy Ghost. And they'll preach the soon coming Yeshua, the Messiah, the Savior of the world. And that his return is imminent. And they'll be hated by the whole world. Oh, my Lord have mercy. So, the Sanhedrin that have approved the half shekel and are involved in different things of the approval of the third temple, they simply are fulfilling biblical prophecy by doing the things that lead up to the third temple. That's really what it is. They're just simply fulfilling prophecy. Okay? And while they do that, it just shows you're getting that ever closer. Gill Broussard is going to join us in just a couple of minutes. We've got so much to talk to him about. It's really incredible. I mean, I could probably preach another hour just on this simple subject of the coming of the Lord. And Revelation chapter 11 is where you'll find the blueprints to the third temple. And you'll also find the two witnesses. That's because they're going to show up. I mean, once that third temple is built, it won't be long. I don't know when. I don't know how many years. I don't know how many months. I don't know how many days it takes before the two witnesses actually show up dressed in sackcloth, preaching the fire-anointed gospel of the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ as Yeshua. But I can say this. There's a revival going on. Messianic Jews are getting saved all over the world. They are becoming Messianic Jews. They are literally all over the world. And in Israel, it is just continuing. It's unbelievable what is taking place. And at the same time, revival is going to sweep the land for both Jews and Gentiles. And I believe it's the Joel 2 outpouring that in the last days the Lord said, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh. Your sons and daughters shall prophesy, your old men shall dream dreams, your young men shall see visions, and upon my handmaidens and servants I will pour out my spirit, thus saith the Lord. And oh, by the way, what else will happen? Go there, Joel 2. Well, it won't just only be that, but I'm going to pour out the former rain and the latter rain in the first month. Matter of fact, here's what else will happen. When these things happen, when the holy, powerful revival comes and the outpouring of the Holy Ghost, there will be some physical manifestations. Here's what it says. And I also, upon the servants and handmaids in those days, will I pour out my spirit, and I will show wonders in the heaven. Is that what Gill Broussard is going to talk to us about today? And in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke, and the sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord come. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be delivered. For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall be deliverance, as the Lord has said, and in the remnant to whom the Lord hath called. Folks, it is this I'm telling you, the table is being set, and you have a front row seat to end time Bible prophecy. The current world events that are happening today and how they relate to biblical prophecy, as we're in our 7th year online, couldn't be coming together any more clear than they are right now. And when we come back, we're going to go find Mr. Gill Broussard and bring him to the table. All right? So don't go nowhere. Hang on. Hang on. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's incredible what the Lord shall do. How come I'm having trouble here? Oh, here we go. And so we'll be right back. Give us about 3 minutes, and we'll try to locate Gill Broussard and Planet 7X and all the other things that are taking place. His take on the waves of energy, his take on the Comet 45P, his take on is there an asteroid 2016 WF9, and right now I can see that we're having an issue. Okay, it's coming. And I always thank God for everybody here, and praise God. Hang on just 1 second. And we'll be right back in about 3 minutes with the next hour and Gill Broussard, okay?
The coming apocalypse. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened. I beheld then because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. I beheld even till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed, and given to the burning flames. As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time. I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. Welcome to the coming apocalypse, an analysis of today's headlines and how Bible prophecy is unfolding before your very eyes. Please welcome now your host, an anointed preacher, radio talk show host, prophetic teacher who travels globally and has a genuine love for people. Your pastor and mine. Please welcome Pastor Paul Daly. Salvation Station. Salvation Station. Salvation Station.
All right. We're looking for Gill Broussard.
The person whom you're trying to reach is currently unavailable. Please leave a message after the beep.
What? Gill Broussard trying to reach you on Skype. I hope you're out there. All right, let's try something else real fast. Aha! And here he is, Gill Broussard.
Hello, Paul. How's it going?
Really good. You are live with us. Huge crowd of folks gathered. Great to have you on the show today, Gill.
Well, I'm happy to be back.
Great to have you. Wow! Everything's going on like you wouldn't believe, Gill. And, there's so much happening around the world. with different events. But today we're really interested. I mean, folks are really interested, and very glad that you've come on to be with us. We appreciate you returning. You are the expert, folks. Gill Broussard is the expert. I would say, as it relates to Planet 7X, as it relates to the research of biblical events and how they were tied to historical accounts, nobody has ever researched it and tied it together better than Gill Broussard, and then verified it with I think 12 or 13 different scientists or mathematicians to verify this. So he has really done a great job. You can find his Facebook page. We're going to keep putting your website up there and your Facebook page, Gill, so people can find that more about you. But Gill, let me ask you a couple questions. We've got about 4 or 5 questions, but one of them is this, just to get this off the table. There's circulating everywhere rumors of an asteroid that's supposed to come very close to the Earth February 25th. Now, the name of the asteroid, NASA named it. In October, they said they called it asteroid 2016 WF9. That was the name NASA gave it. NASA has now removed it from its charts. They said it was a half a mile wide. It's now listed nowhere. Do you know anything about this asteroid or what's going on with it?
I'm afraid I don't. I haven't. That's the first I've heard of it, so I can't really make any comments on it because I don't have any info.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Then what about Comet 45P, Honda? Any info you can share with us on that? Yeah,
I've turned it on the software program that it's built into the astronomy software now. Whenever they place it out, and it's not it's definitely not our planet because it doesn't have the same orbit. It's not crossing Earth path twice. Remember, Revelation and other parts tells us that this object that's in the biblical records crossed our path twice, with a gap of 5 months in between the entry and the exit point.
Okay.
And because all the other items pivot from the center of the sun, so you have 3 fixed points. You have 2 where it crosses Earth's path, and 1 the center of the sun. So that gives you 3 fixed points. That places it on the ecliptic only. Okay.
Are we talking Planet 7X?
Yes.
Okay.
So these other ones, these asteroids, remember their orbits are warped. That's the reason why we see so many asteroids entering our atmosphere, and also the reason why NASA is so worried, because our Planet 7X is warping the orbits of comets. We have scientific studies going back almost 7 to 10 years from the UK as well as the US, that it proves out that the orbits of our comets are warped by unknown gravity.
So when you say warped, you're saying that the unknown gravity is knocking the asteroids off their orbit? Is that what you mean by warped?
It's kind of like you're on a 4-lane driving, and you want to pass a vehicle. You cross into the other lane to pass around, and then you come back into your normal route, your normal lane. Well, it's the same thing with these asteroids. Their gravity is warping and bending their normal path. Okay.
Wow.
And so that can be calculated and seen through instruments we see in space, and from 2 scientific reports we have. And this is in the same area of space, Sagittarius, which is south of the universe. Okay. Remember, people, south of the universe is not polar south. That's called Nadar. south of the universe is where Sagittarius is.
Okay.
All of the data that we have, actually hard data, points to Sagittarius.
So is Planet X coming from the direction of Sagittarius?
That's its original course, right? Right now, if it was to reach us at, let's say, March of this coming up March, that means it's already on the inside of our solar system. It takes 76 days for it to cross to enter our inner solar system and to exit. Basically, that's on the inside of Earth's path around the sun. No one's seen it yet. The 40-day mark, which is very interesting also. Remember Jonah, when he warned Nineveh, gave him a 40-day warning.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I just received some information that Trump generals are sending over 5,000 troops into Iraq, and that they should be finished with ISIS in Iraq around February 4th, where they'll be announcing that they're free of ISIS as far as Miss Iraq.
Wow!
And that Nineveh, is free. Well,
now wait a minute.
Mosul
so you're saying we just got breaking news just now that Donald Trump is sending 5,000 U.S. troops into Iraq to eliminate ISIS and to try to have them completely wiped out of Iraq, at least out of Iraq, not Syria, but Iraq, by February 4th.
That's what I got that over a week ago, and it's in the paper that he sent 5. I've heard over that number. They're leaving Kuwait. They drove across the country and they're helping them, and they should be finished fairly quick. And then after that, then they'll probably go into Syria and finish up ISIS.
All right. So we'll just keep that information and watch that close. I do know, personally, we know from our online church, I can just say we've had a lot of mothers contact us and ladies saying, pray for my sons and pray for my husbands. They've been sent to Kuwait. And we've had some even say, pray for my son, he's been sent to Iraq. So we've been hearing that. I've never spoken a word about it publicly. But since you're bringing this up, I'll just say that is one thing I know. I don't know anything about the 5,000 that the president is sending, but I know this. The president of the United States definitely has made no bones about it, that his plan is to annihilate and eradicate ISIS from the face of the earth. He said it in the inaugural address. So, I mean, we shouldn't be shocked when we hear of a plan going into effect.
Right. What is interesting, keep in mind, Mosul is the old town of Nineveh.
Right.
I'd already made the claims that 40 days, if it is going to show up in March, which I don't have a crystal ball, I can't tell the future. I'm just saying for us to pay attention like watchmen of the wall. We have a very interesting lineup that takes place March 15th, 16th, which lines up with what the biblical is saying on Revelation 12:1. Counting backwards from that, the 40th day is February 4th.
Wow!
Okay? So, maybe there's some kind of parallel with the Bible there, if it occurs. That we have yet to find out if it happens.
So let's talk about your March. So this is the breaking news that you're sharing with us today. Is you're saying that it's very possible. Again, you don't have a crystal ball. You're not guaranteeing it. So when people, please, if it doesn't happen, he isn't guaranteeing it. But Gill has studied enough to know that he's in the ballpark. He has studied how many times that we've had these major biblical and historical events. And I'm talking from the days of the sign that Jonah saw, the sign, the preaching of Jonah, that in 40 days the Lord is going to destroy the city. And this happened the same time that the planet that it's believed that maybe the planet 7X went by. Also, Hezekiah's sundial, going back 10 steps or 10 degrees. And there's other accounts. So based on this, Gill has come up with an 8-year window, unless you've adjusted that. It was 2013 to 2021. So are you saying, Gill, that this March, what days are you thinking Planet 7X is going to go by?
Well, it's not exactly thinking now. What I'm saying is when we look at the astronomy software, we have a lineup.
Okay.
Revelation 12:1 clearly tells us, okay, it says, the moon at the foot of the woman. All right?
Okay.
Well, if it says moon, where do we look? We look in the sky. All right?
Okay.
And the woman it's talking about is Virgo. Well, when we take a look at the software, we know that Elijah is supposed to come back around Passover, or on Passover. That's usually either March or April even.
Okay.
Also, the biblical records tells us that sometimes it causes seasonal changes.
All right.
It causes either severe droughts or early winter or late winter, something like that. Our seasons end up being changed because of this.
Extreme weather conditions, changing almost like seasons. Or the other day it was 64 degrees here in mid-January. It felt like mid-May. I mean, it literally looked like mid-May. It felt like mid-May. I'm thinking, wow, is there something going on here? You know.
Right. Today, where I'm at 75 degrees over here, you know. So the AC's coming on.
Yeah.
And it's middle of winter. So we definitely have changing parts of our weather and seasonal changes globally.
So are you saying that this one, and let me just read a little bit of it. It's Revelation 12. The Bible says, and there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. Are you saying that this wonder in heaven is about to happen in March of this year?
What I am saying is that we have a lineup that we need to pay attention to.
Okay.
If it does happen, then we are awake. We're not asleep.
Okay.
Okay. So be a watchman and pay attention. See if there's any other clues that show up. Remember, the UN voted against Israel. That's biblical also. That was predicted over 2,000 years ago.
Yes, it was.
All right. So that happened just a few months ago. 2017 could be a very interesting year, starting again with this lineup. The word dragon in there was a common word used throughout time representing a comet. Okay?
Okay.
If you read closer, it says Virgo is the only constellation illuminated there. All right?
Okay.
The word Helios in Greek can mean multiple items. It can be a sun, it could be a comet, it could be a star, it could be anything that's illuminated.
Okay.
That's
okay.
what the word actually means.
Okay. Okay. I got it.
So you have, and she's pregnant. Well, the king planet was the same planet or star, if you wish, because from Earth it appears as a star. Was the same star that showed up for the birth of Yeshua. Well, March 15, 16 It's in the belly of Virgo.
The star.
Yes, exactly. Basically at her belly button where she would be pregnant.
Ready to be delivered.
Right. And so the Bible talks about also that daylight is made into night and night into daylight. But that's not an eclipse. Eclipse cannot bring you light into the night part of the sky. That is a 12-hour delay it's talking about. For midnight to be noon and noon into midnight, that's a 12-hour delay. Just like the time of Joshua's long day, he had 12 extra hours of daylight. Well, the opposite side of Earth at the time would have 12 extra hours of darkness. This is going to reoccur when this planet comes around.
So
now,
this womb of the woman of Virgo, there is going to be the star. There's a star, a bright, illuminating star. You're saying around March 15th or 16th, that's going to pass into the womb. We're going to be actually, because a lot of folks were hearing September 23rd, 2017. Is that wrong? Are they talking about something else?
It's my strong opinion. Yes, that is a misinterpretation of the way the Hebrews use the sky.
Okay.
The occult version, which is called the zodiac, is using the daytime skies. They use charts, and now today they use software because you can't see the stars during the day. And these people are turning off the sun. There's a setting you can turn off the sun in the software to where it looks like it's night, but it's the daytime sky. In September, you're looking at the daytime skies at Virgo. In March, you're looking at the night. That's why they're 6 months apart.
Okay.
All right? Because one, you're looking from the daytime, the other one, you're looking from the nighttime at the constellation Virgo. The Mezarah, which is what the Hebrew used throughout the scriptures, was the nighttime skies where anybody can see the sign. Remember where it says that our Messiah returns mid of night, not mid of day.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
Remember where the 10 virgins are having lamps, they're lit?
At midnight.
Right. It's not during noon, is it?
No, it's midnight.
Right. And this is after a 12-hour delay in Earth's rotation.
Okay. So the September 23rd is a daytime constellational alignment, and you're saying that's opposite of the March 15th or 16th, which is a nighttime constellation alignment, which you believe, and what the point you're making here is fits more the biblical narrative of the coming of the Lord at midnight. You're literally looking at it from the point of view of where the constellation alignment is taking place.
Correct. And I also calculate in there that there's a 12-hour delay. Because this is viewed from Jerusalem at mid of night. So when you slow down Earth's rotation by 12 hours.
Okay.
And when you go, this is the point that I missed in 2016.
Okay.
When we go back and look at Joshua's long day, it says the moon was delayed by 12 hours as well. So when we come back and we delay the moon by 12 hours on 15/6, it puts it exactly at her foot.
Okay.
As the text is stating.
So now, you're saying the Revelation 12 wonder in heaven, that a lot of folks think it's in September. You're saying, hold on a minute. In reality, it's really going to happen in March, and that there's also something coming into the womb that's going to be illuminated. And you're saying it's a star. Do you know what it is? I mean, have you identified it? Is it a comet? Is it?
No, it's Jupiter. It's Jupiter. It's the king planet.
It's Jupiter.
The king planet moves into the belly of Virgo.
Okay, and that we know is going to happen. That is absolutely a fact, folks. It's going to happen.
Yes, she is giving birth to a king.
I got it.
That's why it's the king planet.
Okay.
And read the text carefully. It says only Virgo is illuminated. You can't do that with the sun, but you can do it with a comet's tail, because the tail points opposite of the sun, and the software model shows us that only Virgo is illuminated. Now, keep in mind that Jupiter has an orbit of 11.8 years.
All right.
It would not come back into Virgo's belly till another 11.8 years. Now, how do we make that line up with the Hebrew counting method?
All right. Help me on that.
They have 7 years, every 7th year is a Sabbath year, and every 50th year is a Jubilee.
That's right.
Well, this is when he picks up his bride, and the bridemaid brings them to a place of safety in the wilderness, where they prepare for a wedding and train. They have to be, they have to learn a song before entering. They have to learn. So that takes 3.5 years while they're in the wilderness, being trained and learning what they need to do for the wedding, which is 3.5 years later. Remember, Elijah and Moses show up at Passover alive again. We're going to see some real people. They are prophesying for 1,260 days. Then they're dead.
Then they raise from the dead.
That's when the second taking away happens. But this one is to heaven. It says the dead are first, then the living.
I hear you. That's exactly what it says, folks.
And you can be anywhere in the world, and you're going to heaven. That's the second. But the first one is defined completely different. We read it carefully. You say the first taking away says a remnant. That's not everybody. You have to be in Jerusalem because you're following a Mekrah. A Mekrah in Hebrew means dry rehearsal. You're required to be in Jerusalem. That's why this sign is mid of night from the point of view of Jerusalem. Remember, the Messiah comes mid of night. He shows up in Jerusalem.
Absolutely.
Where does Elijah show up 3.5 days earlier than that? He shows up at Passover. Now, how did they know 2,000 years ago that this sign in heaven, which could land on any day as long as the stars are lining up, how did they know that this was exactly 3.5 days after Passover? Because 3.5 days prior to this is the full moon. Okay, how did they know this?
So you're saying this, and I haven't looked to see, I just haven't looked. I don't have the calendar in front of me. Passover this year is what?
It might be early.
Because that depends on the moon. We have to have 2 witnesses, and we have to have 2 priests. Have to look up and say, yep, there it is, full moon. And so once that, am I right?
Well, also with this, it takes, you have to have the right barley. The barley has to be, it's called
the barley.
Because you can't use the previous grain. You have to use that year grain, because that's why you're thanking him for this. The
barley harvest.
Right, exactly. So
you're saying Passover. So we're trying to figure out Passover based on the barley harvest, based on the full moon, confirmed by 2 priests, and 3.5 days later, then you have this event that's in the heavens.
Which is exactly the same amount of time that the 2 prophets lay dead. Remember, they prophesied. That means the word profess means to speak.
Yes.
They can't speak if they're dead, so they prophesied 1,260 days. Then they're dead for 3.5.
Okay.
So, which is 3.5 days longer there on earth than the people who are in the wilderness for 1,260 days. So that actually tells you that they're at Passover, but the bride and bridemaid doesn't get taken to the wilderness till 3.5 days later, which is on this day, March 15, 16, where this lineup happens.
So the lineup that we're reading here, this wonder in heaven that John the Revelator, a 94-year-old apostle, exiled on the Isle of Patmos off the coast of Greece, is getting this revelation from Jesus Christ, and he sees a wonder in heaven. This event he sees of the star alignment is going to happen March 15th or 16th.
Now, keep in mind, a wedding, because you have to feed your guests at a wedding, you cannot feed them on a Sabbath or a Jubilee because you're conserving food on those years. All right?
Okay.
So it can only be the following March, which March or April. It would be the Passover, which would be when it would occur. Well, we're looking for some time in the future, let's say, the following March after Sabbath or a Jubilee in the next 50 years. Does this line up again? We have no lineups that ever occur. This is the only one that occurs on a Passover right after Jubilee.
That's, in other words, we're not going to get to see this constellational lineup again. This is it?
This is it. For at least I checked the next 50 years. There is no lineup after the following March of a Sabbath or Jubilee. Now, remember where it says in the Bible, all will be fulfilled before this generation dies out. That's all Israel formed. They're already 84 years old, if you count in the Hebrew way of counting. They can't go another 50 years. They're all dead. This generation will have died out.
Yeah, I know. And there's been, and just so that you know, Gil, I know you know, but so that the listeners out there will know, because that there are a lot of different starting points that different theologians and Bible scholars of eschatology, when you start talking about the fig tree generation, we call it, when does it start? Well, some people say, well, at the Balfour Declaration of 1917. Some say, no, it was when the United Nations voted and made Israel a state, actually on November 29th, 1947. Others say, no. It was when Israel became a nation on May the 14th, 1948. Others say, no. It's when Jerusalem was unified during the Six-Day War in 1967. So, and then you have the debate, is a generation 40 years? Is a generation 70 years? Is a generation 80 years? Or some would say, is a generation the man's allotted days that God told Moses 120 years. So where do you start? Where does it end? That is still up for debate. But either way, no matter where you start or end, we're in this generational period somewhere. I mean, Gil, wouldn't you agree?
Without a doubt. But I would just suggest people view the Bible from a point of view that is Hebraic. Or Hebrew course. In its nature. Because that's who the authors were.
Of course. I agree with you 1,000%. So that's why you're adamant about the Hebrew calendar and following also the constellations. And I also know you follow the current events that are related. For instance, you just brought up Donald Trump, the potential fact that he may go in and take Mosul back from ISIS, fully liberating it, which was the ancient city of Nineveh. I mean, that's huge, especially if it ties into your dates prior to this March 15, 16. So you're saying sometime around February 4th.
Well, unless we get the reason why the timing is not pulled out of nowhere, we're using this mark in the sky.
Right.
And it says that we won't be asleep. That means if you're looking for it. Because he's trained you to look at the sky, for the moon, for the calendar. He's given us a sign in Revelation. He's trained us. That's what McRaws are and everything. They're dry rehearsals, and he's telling us how to tell the calendar. He didn't say look at the Gregorian calendar.
No.
It wasn't even there yet.
No.
He uses the skies. So he gets you used to looking at the skies for signs.
Okay.
And since I cannot tell the future, I can only say it greatly concerns me. Pay attention to what's happening on the news and pay attention to what's happening in the skies. These next, until March 15th. If we don't see anything, then I don't see any other signs that would line up that would match the biblical record. And
unless this event that we're looking at, this wonder in the heavens, even though it would be let's say happening, what will take place during that, unless we're missing something that needs to happen yet, and that this is just the wonder in heaven during this fig tree generation. I mean, you have to know that.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to line up. These stars won't line up like this again. That you know.
Yeah, I think that there's a parallel to something that he said. He said for a wicked and adulterous generation, there'll be one sign, the sign of Jonah.
Yeah.
I think that we do have a world that's wicked and adulterous, and if this is a double innuendo, that because there's two signs for Jonah. One was the whale, the other one was not. I think both the pages of Jonah are pertaining to the return of the Messiah. The first one was when he was going to be resurrected.
Yep.
And the second one about the 40 days is an indication, was the warning to the wicked also, that this is going to be coming next. Now, if we're right, then that means we're only going to have a short warning.
Right. Well, go ahead.
Otherwise, telescopes would have given us advance warning of 16 years from the edge of our solar system. And I'm talking about amateur astronomers been able to warn us 16 years ahead of time.
Okay.
But we know it's close because the orbits of comets are warped, our seasons are changed, our magnetic north is moving at 12 times its normal rate. The tilt of the Earth has another 4 degrees tilt to it because it wobbles.
Yeah, okay? It does. Yep.
All of these changes are not done by cars.
No.
Warming of the atmosphere. It doesn't affect the sun. The sun is acting extremely strange.
Right. You are right.
All the planets are warming up.
Yes, you are right.
And the orbits of normal asteroids are being warped, and now they're crossing Earth's path, and that's why we're seeing more and more meteors entering our atmosphere, because they are perturbed. They're
being warped
from the normal path.
So you're saying, and you know what? This is fascinating, folks. Seriously, because Gill is bringing forth everything that we're already hearing. We're hearing of the magnetosphere being moved. And Gill, I don't know if you've seen BP Earthwatch's video where it literally shows an incredible movement in the magnetosphere. We also Dutch Sense, who captured it also. And now there's even some international organizations that have confirmed this. And Mike from around the world also talks about the waves of energy. So I want to ask you, what is your take? We'll come back to this. March 5th, write it down, folks, March 15th and 16th. Can we, before I ask you about waves of energy, can we be able to look up in the heavens and see this constellation of wonder in the heavens? Can we look up there and see it on March 15th or 16th?
Yes, at midnight.
At midnight.
It'll be right in the center of the skies looking south.
Okay. Then at midnight, which time? Jerusalem midnight? Where?
Well, remember, if this planet approaches, we will, about 3.5 days earlier than that,
we'll see it?
Earth is too close to the plasma tail. They'll have to turn off the generators globally. So Passover is going to be held with oil lamps and candles, because there'll be no power that night. So the world is not going to be there will be no TV crews or radio crews announcing Elijah and Moses has arrived in Jerusalem. This is going to be a private meeting, because there won't be power on the earth. They're going to have to shut down the power plant because Earth is too close to the plasma there. It's like an EMP wave.
So you're saying there's going to be a global mass blackout, not because of mankind, but because of the plasma tail will be just too close. It will affect us.
Right. For about 3 days we'll have that.
Wow! And oh, by the way, folks, we've had 3 days of darkness before. It was one of the plagues of Egypt. We've had this before.
And
okay. All right. So all right. Now let me ask you a question. Let's hold that for a moment. Let's just put that right there. I want to welcome all of you that are here. This is Gill Broussard. an astronomer. If you're watching at my website, my son keeps putting his website up on the screen, his Facebook page. He also has a DVD out, folks. Is that your website where that's available, Gill? I think it's planetx.org or something. .net. Okay. Planet X.
It's planet7x.net.
Sorry. Planet7x.net. You can go there, and he has a DVD. It's an excellent film they put together. That's where you could purchase that if you wanted to watch that from home, and get a whole. He's got all the charts and graphs. All this stuff is available. Check out his website, planet7x.net. Now, also, folks, Gill is from Louisiana. He's from Louisiana, and he really has dedicated his life to trying to help understand the signs in the heavens. And the Bible says that men's hearts would fail them, Gill, for fear, for looking after those things that are coming on the earth. So I want to ask you about the 5 waves of energy that Mike from around the world has introduced to us really about 4 to 5 years ago. What is your take on the 5 waves of energy?
Well, I have a different take than what they... I've read the articles where he said that quadruple exploded in light years away, and this is the energy that's finally reaching us, hitting Earth.
That's NASA. That's what NASA sa's.
Yeah, I'm not buying that.
Okay. Okay.
If it would be 50 million light years away, it would be a lot bigger than quadruple super. It'd be like 1,000 times greater.
Okay.
You'd have a nice star in the sky, like some sort of nebula, that would be extremely huge. Which to me it's just impossible, because the light and the plasma would dissipate by the time it reached here. If we're talking about a distance of 50 million light years away, and I have something that's quite a little bit more simpler and probably more practical. I promise. If a person uses something that's called Occam's razor, when you have 2 different opinions and one is simpler than the other, go with the simpler.
Well, when you're talking to Pastor Paul Begley, please go simpler, okay? Because stay simple, all right?
We have a model. We have the orbital path.
Okay.
We have also a given date in Revelation 12:1.
Yes.
Okay. The orbital path was given to us by the Asian astronomers, the Chinese, Korean, and Japanese, because they saw it for 26 months. They documented it. And each kingdom had at least 10 astronomers working for the royal houses. So that's at least 30 astronomers that saw it for the Asians.
Now that was China, Japan, and what's the other one?
Korea.
Okay.
And when we plotted the information, I was the first to plot the information.
Yes, you were.
It gave us an orbit with an entry and exit of about roughly 152 days separation.
Okay.
That gave us the 5 months, and this object was on Earth's planetary plane. It crosses Earth's path twice.
Yes.
Well, so we have its highway that it's passing on and driving on. All right.
All right.
And it's elliptical. Now we have a given date that Revelation is talking about, possibly March 15th. So when we reverse the model from that point, and we go back to the point that NASA was talking about, that they saw a light in the sky, that was December 27th, 2004. What's interesting is Pluto was very close to our planet, and it was downstream of the tail. Well, if you remember when that little comet passed by, I think it was Mars, and it lit up Mars. I sent you some pictures of it.
Yes, I do.
Okay, that was a plasma discharge. Well, and that was from a small little rock in the sky that did that to Mars. Now we're looking at a planet that's 14 times or so larger than Pluto. I think there was a discharge against Pluto of massive proportions.
Wow.
And that flash radiated towards the Earth. And what's interesting, the position of Earth in December were the moon, because it said it bounced off the moon, hitting our atmosphere, lighting us up at night. That's exactly what you see in the model. You have an exact replication of what they're talking about.
So do you know that when you just said that this event happened December 27th, 2004, you do know that the day before that, December 26, 2004, is the mega earthquake of 9.1 or 9.2 in Indonesia that brought a tsunami that killed 250,000 people. Did this event bring that earthquake and tsunami?
It's possible. I can't rule it out, but
that's fascinating.
You're going to have different waves of energy, different types of energy.
Okay.
So, and it will affect the Earth in different ways.
Okay.
Now, some of this energy went further out into space, and because of the Voyager and Pioneer probes, we know that space gets thicker after a certain area. So these waves, when it hits space that's thicker, would have focused back towards the sun. It's like hitting a parabolic mirror, kind of. It would have focused it back towards the sun, because Earth is kind of like in a fish. Consider it in a sphere, like a fish bowl, that we have these multiple thick layers of space. Well, as these layers are hitting these thicker layers, they're bouncing back and they're focused back to the sun. And that's what we're receiving right now. These extra 5 energy waves are coming back at us from that, coming back to the focal point.
So when Mike from around the world talks about the 5 waves of energy, and I know you've heard that, and he says it is from Planet X. Now that took me 4 years to get him to confirm that, but he says yes, it is from Planet X, and he talks of Planet X as a binary system. Okay, is he? Are we still talking about the same thing, or it's just a different verbiage? What is your take on it?
My information disproves that this is linked to a binary, because its orbital distance that it goes out, only 360 years, it's not far enough to pick up to circle a secondary sun like a binary star. So its orbit is entirely too short for that as far as the distance.
Okay.
Now, even if it was connected to a sun, orbiting a sun, and that the sun was coming in, all right, the given path given to us by the Asian astronomers shows us that it's a simple elliptic path, just like an asteroid or comet. All right.
Okay.
Otherwise, you'd have like a warped helical path, or going around the sun. It would not be a elliptical path. It can't. It wouldn't. So we have just a simple item here. It's a very large comet/planet, if you want to call it that. Because I think it would have to be a whole new category.
Okay.
And it roughly has a 360-year orbit that's very elliptical.
Yeah.
And it crosses Earth's path. The entry and March event that's marked in the calendar matches the data of the Asian. This would be around the time frame that the Asians are pointing at.
Okay. So March.
So we have multiple lineups here with the text.
Yeah. So March 15th, 16th might be a very, very prophetic time. It could very well be when the very sign, wonder in the heavens, seen by John. We may actually get to see that in March 15th or 16th. And so I think that's quite fascinating. We're going to be looking up into the constellations, looking up into the sky, see what this is, and see if we see that. And I think, again, this is fascinating information, Gill. It really, really is. And I appreciate the humbleness that Gill Broussard brings to this. He brings a very humbleness. Very few people are willing to just go out and say, look, this is something that's going to happen in the heavens. There's a lot of other pieces and parts moving here on the earth, some current world events, but certainly a lot of these events that have happened are quite extraordinary. What's going on with world powers, wars, rumors of wars, the rise of radical Islam, the election just held in America, the effect of it across the globe with democracies, how close we were to the beast. I mean, Gill, seriously, I'm telling you, we're still close, but I'm just saying, the New World Order was just like on the doorstep, on the threshold here. And I'm not saying it's been pushed back a gazillion years, but it's all in prophecy. It's just the timing is all working out. Let me ask you a question here. When we look at the asteroids, the warped, you're saying the asteroids are being warped, and that's why we're seeing more and more asteroids, meteors, fireballs. But what about the pressure from the waves of energy, the pressure affecting earthquakes and volcanoes? What is your take on that?
Well, it's a similar pressure, just like the sun when it pulsates plasma out and it affects us. These waves would have the same effect.
Okay.
Right? Because they're plasma. So it moves it starts to collapse our magnetic field, and our magnetic field has, just like a motor, it creates torque in the inner part of our core that causes us to spin. So anything that goes against our magnetic field will cause torquing issues that might cause earthquakes.
Does CERN play any role in this? Does CERN got any effect with anything that's going on, especially with the magnetosphere?
I have no idea. I'm not really too concerned about CERN at all. It's in its own little realm. I think that they created CERN to look for a new particle that they could make a weapon to help destroy incoming meteors. Because a nuclear weapon, if you have large meteors, a nuclear weapon is not strong enough.
Wow.
It doesn't have, so they would need something that would have capabilities of something in the magnitudes of thousands of times larger than what a nuclear weapon could do today.
Anthony Patch.
That's what I think they were doing.
Yeah, Anthony Patch said that is definitely part of it, to create a weapon that's even greater than the nuclear power. Now, you do, and I know you know this, but the White House under President Obama last January opened what they call the Armageddon Office. And then in the fall of this past year, an executive order was made by President Obama, and that executive order was to prepare in case of a space weather event, that the President of the United States would have full authority and power to confiscate food, water, shelter, bunkers, anything and everything they would need through FEMA and Department of Homeland Security. This was a very broad brush executive order, and he starts talking about space weather event. So do you think, and then I've heard Vladimir Putin said we should be turning our nukes and rockets and weapons toward the heavens to shoot down incoming asteroids. So are we going to see an increase in asteroid activity, and are we going to see a deep impact?
We've already seen a large increase in asteroids coming in. Will that trend continue? That just depends if there's asteroids in the area that would fulfill that. there's a high probability because the orbits are warped. What used to miss Earth is now crossing Earth's path. And if Earth is in that area when it's crossing, then yes, we're going to have some. Could they be large? Yes. Some of them are very large. Whether or not they will hit us, I can't give any conclusive.
Yeah, and isn't it kind of true that NASA seems to they have predicted successfully every meteor that has missed us, but they have not ever told us of a meteor that is going to hit us. And can you help me understand that?
Remember when that meteor that hit us that went over Russia?
Yes.
And they said, it came from the backside of the sun. That's why we couldn't see it. And the public bought that. Well, that's hogwash. Because remember, Earth is spinning around the sun. Earth is rotating around the sun. Okay, so 3 months earlier, even we could have seen its orbital path. Remember, a meteor has an elliptical orbit, so it doesn't stay stationary behind the sun like some people say about Planet X. It's behind it. It's only behind the sun for like a week or so, or at the most. All right. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to see it. It's either to the right or to the left, unless it's being cloaked, which I strongly believe that's what our lasers and our space program that Reagan put up there is used for cloaking this. So, and the Bible alludes, if Jonah's 40-day warning is for us, that means we shouldn't see it before that. Possibly we might see it for the 40 days if it parallels.
Antarctica, Gill, because we're going to run out of time. Antarctica. We got world leaders going to Antarctica to see something that's very hush-hush. They don't talk about what they're going down there for. I have Steve Quayle as my guest tomorrow, I'm going to ask him, Steve, why in the world are they going to Antarctica? Could my question to you would be, could Antarctica be an advantage point if you had a high-powered telescope in Antarctica? Is that where... Are they going down there to take a peek at Planet X? Is my question. Is there a better advantage point, it being in the South Pole, to maybe spot Planet X?
If money is not an object, then yes, it is the best vantage point because Earth is tilted, okay?
Okay.
And the South Pole region tilts towards the south of the universe. Remember, polar south looking straight down is not south of the universe. That's called nadar. Universal south is pointing towards Sagittarius. Well, you have more nighttime skies, hours, on the south side of the poles looking towards the south of the universe. So that would be the ideal vantage point to get the maximum time to look at. And it's also a good place to isolate information because it can't lead there unless you go through one person at the communication bay to better. In other words, it's very easily censored.
So, you have to understand, and so this is a tremendous answer, because I've read another article where and I was reading a scientist from the year, I can't remember, seemed like it was the year 2004, who said if a person was in an airplane 36,000 feet in the air and was flying over South America and had a high-powered telescope and the sky was beautifully clear, he might be able to get a peek at Planet X, okay? So I thought to myself, wow. And he said this in 2004. And now I'm thinking, wow, so here we are. It's 2017. We got world leaders going to Antarctica, which is a better location than South America, in an airplane, a stationary base. We know the Nazis built a military base in Antarctica, and in 1947, the United States. This is documented. These are from once were classified documents have been released. 1947, we sent an aircraft carrier down there. We sent destroyers down there to go and try to blow up this Nazi base, and that was 1947. So there's no doubt in my mind there is locations down there and probably a high-powered observatory that has the perfect angle at Planet X, and it might be very possible, and you've answered it, that the reason world leaders are slipping off in the middle of the night and going to Antarctica is maybe they're going down there to get a peek at Planet X.
It is a possibility. Put it this way, we have enough points of reference that we're seeing today. Like remember our Bible says that earthquakes would climb so high that it would mimic the pains of a woman giving birth, where it goes into like an exponential growth.
Right.
We're seeing that.
Yeah, we are.
It's quite clear. We're seeing birds die, fish die at extraordinary rates.
Yes, we are.
Our magnetic north is moving at 12 times its north. What affects a magnetic field except another magnetic field? Okay, this planet is affecting our magnetic north. It's even changing our tilt of Earth by 4 degrees. Okay, this is scientific data I'm quoting.
I know it is.
It's not hearsay. All right?
Right.
We have something that is affecting us, the orbits of comets, the orbits of asteroids, our sun, and our planets. And it's inside our solar system. But yet, there is no sighting that's valid right now because the object is cloaked. We have the ability through lasers in space to cloak an object. I show a short video that on my Planet 7X on YouTube on how that is possible.
Yeah, you're saying to create a cloak, to create a mirage, to hide things that could be seen otherwise using a deceptive technology, which we do have. The military's had it for quite some time, where they could literally have an army in a field and they could hide them, and the people could sit there and look right at it and don't see them. That technology does exist, and you do a great job showing that in one of your YouTube videos. Folks, check out his website at planet7x.net. That's planet7x.net. Also, you go to Gill Broussard's Facebook page.
YouTube, also
YouTube.
Planet 7X.
So all of these things are available. Gill, I'm going to have to ask you. You got to come back right before March 15th or 16th, or on March 15th or something, to give us some kind of idea of what we might be getting ready to see. I'd like to put that invitation out there to you.
Okay, that'd be great. I might be in Jerusalem.
That's well, if you are, we'll still get you on through Skype. Okay, I'll have Heidi arrange that. So yes, we would love to get you might have a front row seat on this, and so we'd like to find out what it is the wonder that's in heaven that was spoken of by John the Revelator as he received the revelation in Revelation chapter 12. Wow. I mean, this is exciting times. There's no question about it. And Gill, I want to thank you for coming on and being our guest today. I mean, this was really informative. And again, folks, Gill Broussard is the leading expert when it comes to Planet X and how it ties biblically and historically to the events that have been taking place on the earth. Gill, I appreciate it very much.
Well, thank you, Paul, and thank your wife, Heidi, for the emails, and it's a pleasure. I'll see you later.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Gill Broussard, folks. He's a humble man and a very intelligent man who has really brought some really cool stuff forward and some stuff I didn't know. Okay? I knew about the Asian documentation that he checked on. Jonah, when Jonah was saying, in 40 days the Lord's going to destroy the city. Okay? And others, like Hezekiah's sundial that went back 10 degrees. There's no way the sun goes back 10 degrees. That's impossible unless